starting with technology behind sports-related venues. It's a genre that is very close to what we all do, but something that is sort of less obvious to themed entertainment and themed experiences related to what we do. As I dug deeper and deeper into this topic, it's gigantic. You can see it. We have a stadium full of presenters here for you today. There's so many complexities and intricacies, whether it's something you see on the field, whether it's fan engagement, whether it's allowing technology in the space in the first place to then allow these different sorts of things to happen. And thinking about how broad and big it was, there's 9,000 more topics than we could possibly cover. One of our volunteers, Robbie Smith, very kindly put together a sizzle reel. So we're going to watch a sizzle reel real fast just to give you a taste of the broad ways technology is used to support entertainment-related initiatives in sports.
Welcome to Tech Me Out to the Ballgame. This morning's panel is a celebration of technologies and how they're enabling a wide range of entertainment opportunities and connections across sports. Some are big visual components that you view from your seat. Others are back-of-the-house tools that you don't see but are vital for how we experience sports today. Since the days of chariot races that filled Roman Colosseums, we've seen technology used to enhance entertainment in sports. Historians have discovered that drivers modified their wheels for speed and agility, making these spectacles truly spectacular races. You'll find that the technology used to enhance the excitement and thrills of sports is being utilized in many different devices and applications. Let's take a look at a few. For fans that want to watch highlights, as well as make them, preventing injury is always on their mind. Reebok's wearable device, the Check Light, measures the force of impact and lets athletes assess safer ways to play. Starting this season, players on all NFL teams will be wearing RFID sensors, giving fans real-time speed, distance, and performance information. Baseball statistics have been brought to life through visual tracking systems. They measure distance, speed, and trajectory, and display it in a clear, infographic style for quick fan reference. Teams are investing millions of dollars to make their stadiums mobile phone friendly. Venue-wide Wi-Fi lets fans conveniently order food, watch replays, and browse stadium maps. Pre-visualization software is in the hands of college marching band directors, letting them calculate and plot halftime routines that dazzle fans with imagination and showmanship. Long known for their crazy promotional activities, minor league baseball teams are using technology in unique ways. Perhaps none as notable as the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, who offer men the chance to play as they go with electronic urinal games. NASCAR is giving fans the next best thing to riding along with their favorite driver. Race View Audio lets fans listen in to driver pit crew communication, enhancing the thrills around every turn. Google Glass has made its way onto the field. Stanford Athletics has tested letting students wander the field wearing the device. Further tests could eventually lead fans to an on-the-field sideline experience like never before. Innovations in ice surfacing technology have given NHL fans the opportunity to cheer on their teams in unique outdoor venues, even in California. And teams rely on social media to inform, connect, and entice fans to visit the ballpark by offering social media walls, social suites, and cafes. Technology has changed sports entertainment, but its biggest impact is how it affects us emotionally. Technology lets us enjoy, share, and relive those moments of joy, celebration, and frustration. And it's our need for these emotional experiences that will keep us filling up stadiums across the world. Technology energizes sports entertainment, and it fuels our passion for those moments of athleticism that simply leave us speechless.
Thank you for that, Robbie. So how on earth do you find a human being or a panel of human beings who can represent the breadth of that? It's global, it's pro sports, it's college sports, it's high school sports, and the answer is Professor Mark Francis is the answer there. So Professor Francis does dual duty at UCLA. He teaches a class in the business of sports. One semester a year. When he's not there, he's at BaAM Productions, where he is brand management, business development, social media, fan engagement, concept development, and then in his spare time, he's the head coach for the UCLA men's hockey team. So thank you very much to our moderator and the coordinator of our other speakers, Mr. Mark Francis.
Thank you, MK. Good morning, everybody. How is everybody today? Great. Really excited to be here, and certainly really appreciate MK inviting me. I think that philosophically, you'll discover today that I believe there's a lot of parallels between themed entertainment and the sports industry, and we're going to touch on some of those today. I mean, if you just look at anything from major events like the outdoor hockey game you saw there at Dodger Stadium that I was lucky enough to be at, which was fantastic. Pre-game shows, halftime shows, opening ceremonies of Olympic Games, Pan Am Games, those types of things. It all requires very intricate forms of themed entertainment. And the difference with sports and typical themed entertainment is that sports is the ultimate reality. It's a real event. You can't predict the outcome. And that's what makes it so exciting, and that's what it keeps people on the edge of their seats and those types of things. So I'm really excited about being here today and hopefully kind of lessening a blurring of the line, so to speak, or between sports and themed entertainment. So we've got a great panel put together today. We have Bill Walsh, if Bill can come out. Bill Walsh is the Senior Director of Business Development for the Tampa Bay Rays. We have Larry Blocker, who's the Senior Director of Game Presentation and Events for the Miami Marlins. Johnny Miller is the Chief Marketing Officer for Manumatix out of San Diego. Chaka Bainbridge is the President of Bainbridge Sports Management out of Miami. And Daren Dulac is the Director of Business Development and Strategic Partnerships for Sports and Entertainment at Extreme Networks. So, gentlemen, thank you for all for being here. What I'd like to do first is have you we'll go right down the line and have you kind of introduce yourselves and give us a bit about your background and kind of what brought you here.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. My name's Daren Dulac. As Mark mentioned, I run the sports and entertainment business for Extreme Networks. We are a manufacturer of Wi-Fi equipment, specifically focused in the stadium and venue market. And my interest is I have forged a relationship with the NFL, which we'll talk a little bit about, and then other professional sports, and then really the collegiate market as well as we start to look at sports and entertainment and the transformational element of digital and mobile and how that actually starts to translate to activation and some things that we'll talk about there.
Yeah, and this is going to be a big piece of what we're going to talk about today is the connected fan or the connected guest or connected customer. And what to do with that, and how to leverage it into hopefully some ROI at the end of the day. Chaka.
Hi everyone. Good morning. My name is Chaka Bainbridge. I've been in the sports industry for a little over 10 years. Own a sports agency. We represent a bunch of different sports, from extreme games to rugby, cricket. A lot of markets that are sort of foreign to the American market, but I'm in a lot of stadiums. I've been in a lot of stadiums around the world, and there's definitely a opportunity for my clients, which are the athletes, to forge between what these gentlemen do in the tech industry, and we're seeing a profitability for my clients. So definitely there are opportunities out there. I don't know where it's going to be in 10 years, but for now, I definitely think there is a niche market that people can exploit, and obviously, my clients would like to be involved in that. If people are in stadiums, you know, everyone's on their phones these days, and this is what this panel's about. And so I bring that, I guess, to the panel. I'm almost like the fan. I'm in a lot of stadiums because I'm watching my players play. I'm seeing what fans are doing. So yeah.
Johnny.
Johnny Miller, Manumatix. We've been around 5 years, and we come from a little bit different perspective. We're really engaging with brands like Fox and Pepsi and Mountain Dew and different movies, and what we're all about is making money. So everything we do.
It was interesting yesterday, being at just a little sidebar. It was interesting yesterday. Like, typically, we go to sports marketing conferences, that's all they talk about is ROI and revenue.
Right.
And it's really boring. And I think I heard the term ROI mentioned yesterday once, which was really refreshing.
And for us, it's great to hear that there's a creative process and someone cares. And so it's really, because when I talk to the biggest agencies in the world and the biggest brands in the world, it's like, yes, they have this product, but the the emotional tie and the story, which we're not allowed to use here, is really what they're trying to create, but they don't have one, and they have no one around to build it. And what we do, though, to get to the point, is that we build an engagement mechanism and tools to help them year-round engage with their clients or customers.
Okay, Larry Blocker.
I've been in the sports business for over 20 years now. I went to University of Florida, got an internship in their sports department. From there, I went down to Miami to get my master's, and I worked for the Miami Heat in the NBA for 13 years, and now the last 7 with the Miami Marlins. We just opened up a brand new ballpark in 2012, so it was a monster undertaking from the technology / audio-visual world, and it was a crazy process.
Stuff. Bill.
Sure. I've been with the Rays since 2007, back when we were the Devil Rays, I guess. Lots changed for us since then, except our stadium. I'm very jealous of Larry's new stadium. I work in business development, which means I do a lot of different things and wear a lot of different hats with the club. But the one area that I've been focused on quite a bit the last 4 or 5 years is capital projects and technology investment. And we're doing a lot in the world of digital ticketing and loyalty, which I'm going to talk about in just a few minutes.
Absolutely, great stuff. So I was really happy to kind of get a good cross-section from the sports industry here, and I was purposely got I wanted to get a couple of teams here, so it's great that we have the Rays and the Marlins here, and let's start off with Larry. Both you and Bill are doing some exciting things here, and I know you've got a short video and whatnot, some of the things that they're doing at the new stadium in Miami.
Instead of me talking a whole bunch, I have a little video for you guys to watch. Can you roll it, please?
So there's a criticism in the sports industry that we're still, up until present day, we've been watching sports basically the way the Romans did. Clearly, when you watch something like that, that's not the case any longer. Larry, you want to add some to that?
Yeah, the best part of that video to me is, I bring someone into the control room and they're floored that all of what you just saw in the middle, the meat of that video in the middle of it, it takes all that, or else we couldn't do and entertain those fans. Everything's so seamless, and all those boards. I have 700 TVs, 1,250 speakers, 20 different LED boards, inside, outside, 200 digital menu boards that I do in English and Spanish. The outside boards, the entry gates, all English and Spanish. That it's so seamless, people don't realize the amount of time and crew and money that we put into making the technology happen. The ballparks doesn't happen without technology.
It's outstanding. Bill, so the Rays are involved in some pretty interesting stuff. Let's turn that question over to you.
Yeah, sure. One big trend in sports and entertainment, as you all are well aware, has been digital ticketing, and loyalty programs in particular have really taken off. And so when we started thinking about this space a few years ago, probably back in about 2011, we tried to understand really what we wanted out of a program like this, and we tried to outline a few business goals to guide us. One is obviously it's a fan engagement tool. It's something that we hoped would deepen our relationship with our fans, help us move beyond the transaction with them, feel like they are getting more out of their relationship with the club in terms of personalized experiences. But we also want to learn more about our customers. There's an enormous amount of economic activity that happens within the walls of a stadium. And until very recently, until teams have deployed these types of technologies, there really was no window into understanding what any of that behavior was. Even who uses a ticket. You print out a ticket at home, it has a barcode on it, you pass it to your friend. You don't know the identity of the people that are in your stadium, and you don't even know who your own customers are much of the time, let alone what they're doing and how they're spending and how they're behaving within the walls of your facility. So, gaining that 360-degree view of the fan was a big goal for us as well. And then lastly, we face a lot of competition in the sports industry from the secondary market, and StubHub in particular. There's always been ticket resales and ticket scalping, but we've gone a long way from a guy, holding up two fingers on the corner outside of the stadium, looking for a couple tickets. There's so little friction between the primary and secondary market now. So, we were looking for a way to create some more friction, ironically, between our primary market and our box office. And the secondary market, and we thought this technology could help us do that. What we ended up creating was what we call the Rays membership program. It's a technology that's based on an RFID card. We partnered with a company called Fortress out of the UK. They have offices in North America and in New York as well. And the card is meant to be kind of your all-access pass to Tropicana Field. We give it to all of our season ticket holders and all of our mini plan holders. And you can put your ticket on your card, you can use your card for parking, and you can load value to your card, eCash, and spend that at any concessions or merchandise location around the ballpark. We have several different levels of membership, Blue, Gold, and Elite, based on your spend with the club. You receive differential benefits kind of as you move up the ladder of membership. And we encourage people to use their card in a variety of ways. We run contests where everyone who used their card to come into the game that night is entered to win, it's called the Tap to Win contest, and in the 7th or 8th inning, we announce the winner of that contest. There are really cool prizes like a first pitch or field passes. We provide all kinds of different promotions and free concessions items to people who use their cards. But one of the most unique things we've been able to do with this technology is create an entirely new product, essentially, that we call a Flex Pack. And it's a mini plan, but we kind of turned the notion of a mini plan on its head. You can buy 3, 6, or 9 games, and historically you would pick your games in advance, and there were blackout dates, and you'd get special pricing, but there was a lot of fine print attached with it. And that fine print was to protect the club, against basically getting taken on the back end on the secondary market. So what we do with this technology is we offer discounts of 60, 65, even 70% off of single game pricing, depending on your game mix. But you can't transfer your tickets. Your ticket is locked down onto that RFID card. You can't resell it. There's no mechanism for you to do that. And you can pick any game that you want. So if you want to come to 9 Red Sox games, you can go ahead and do that. It's a very fan-friendly, customer-centric product. It's been very popular for us this year. This is our first year doing it, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback on it. The future for this program, I think, is moving in the direction of mobile, like so many things. But again, we have a little bit of a different take on mobile ticketing. Fans really love the convenience of this card. They love being able to use the single thing across all of our touch points in the stadium. And so we're working on a program now that would allow you to have a barcode on your phone that would actually represent your card. So you could use your phone, not just for ticketing, but for parking, for concessions as well. So that's a big step for us next season, really. It's kind of version 2.0, I guess, of this program.
That's some really great stuff. Any other guys want to comment? What you saw?
We're playing with social loyalty. So he's focused on understanding who his customers really are, because before he didn't know when you just had a paper ticket. And so now he knows every single thing about these people, where they track, and all the way down to the hot dogs, almost, practically.
Sure.
And so we're playing a little bit further in the game, where we're playing with the social aspect of it. So when I was a kid, we lived in Atlanta, and we'd take this trip down to Disney World. And so it was the whole station wagon. And so when my parents decided to plan the trip, that's when the trip started for me. And so you guys were talking about yesterday with the cues that we get when we're in line for the ride that I'm about to get on, and I'm looking at the little tiki thing or the lighting thing. What we're looking at is that we can now play with the interaction of the customer way before that. Right when we're saying, okay, we're going to plan our summer trip to Disney World, is when we can start knowing about that customer, engaging with that customer, and actually giving them a one-to-one experience. So it's really about a full circle, a full cycle of what we can play with the customers. And with sports fans, there's no better audience to play with, because yes, there may be a 2-hour game a few times a year, or in football less, in basketball you get tons. But there's year-round engagement where there's drafts and there's other things going on. That's where we can engage with these people now, because we know who they are. And so that's what we're about, is learning who those people are and then creating an experience or engagement with them year-round.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the things that we'll touch on today is that attendance has been affected negatively pretty much across the board, NFL, certainly college football, largely because they can't use their phones, especially that younger demographic. And a lot of sports organizations have reacted by trying to create and look at only the in-stadium experience, right, when it is possible, and we'll talk about this more with Johnny and Daren, to engage 24/7, 365 days a year, no matter where you are. And to me, as a marketer, that's kind of the holy grail. So I want to move into the next piece of this. Who has a cell phone I can borrow?
That won't work?
I want live prop. It doesn't have to work. Okay, so I'd like everybody to stand up for a second. I just thought of this right now, so bear with me.
This is him.
Okay, so I'd like everybody to follow me. Do Simon Says.
Yeah.
Simon Says, do this.
Yeah.
Okay, and stand like that. If I was to take a picture of this and tweet it right now, this would be the world's largest gathering of the Lion King pose. The Lion King is actually a thing. And what it signals is that there's no Wi-Fi connectivity. True, it's a real thing. You can look it up on the internet.
Yeah.
So, and this subject is one of my, I'll call it a pet peeve, because it certainly is. Not only because when I go to a Rose Bowl this summer and I watch Manchester United against the Galaxy, and Man U has paid God knows what to completely rebrand the Rose Bowl with all of the Man U stuff and everything else, and you're sitting there and it's Facebook this and tweet that, but here's the problem. You can't, right? And the Rose Bowl is not alone. You could go around probably 80% of sporting venues around the world right now that do not have any type of connectivity, and there's some real confusion around this. And which is great, which is really great that I have Daren here, because he's going to clarify all this to you, and I want you to really pay attention, because it's really important, because it applies to both sports and themed entertainment venues. You know, if you go into a Hall of Fame, or if you go into a typical museum, the Ringling Museum down here, I didn't check yesterday, but I'm willing to bet that there's probably not Wi-Fi connectivity down there. So what does that do? That means you can't share your experience. Okay, and that's only one level of it, but what I want to do is really clarify this, and Daren, there's a few things. I know Extreme, by the way, was just mandated back in January and signed to do the entire NFL. They're the first league to mandate Wi-Fi connectivity in all of their stadiums, and Extreme, kudos to those guys who have been able to kind of perfect the process. And there's some differences. There's different systems. There's DAS systems. There's hard Wi-Fi systems. And Daren, I want you to clarify this stuff for us, and go from there.
Sure. So let me give you a little bit of context to how the league looks at this. And they were very smart. 2 years ago, about 2.5 years ago, they hired a woman out of Disney, Michelle McKenna Doyle, to be the NFL's first CIO of the league. And really, the goal there is the league itself said, we have made entertainment so good at the home in terms of the HD quality and the production quality of the games themselves, that they're now competing against the home entertainment. And they're starting to see, you know, the ticket prices and the attendance within the stadiums start to slowly decline. So they said, how do we combat this? And they started doing rigorous studies around all of their stadiums to understand, through surveys of their fans, you know, what is it that's causing people to either stray or to just not go to the games. And really it came down to convenience. You know, the idea of convenience of your home and having the refrigerator only steps away in the bathroom there. And so what they looked at is they said, what could we do around our stadiums that would enable the conveniences that people find at home that we could do in the stadiums? And the first and foremost thing in all the surveys that came back was poor connectivity. Was the idea that people went into these venues and simply could not make a call, couldn't place a call, couldn't place a text, or could not share the experience that they were having in venue through their social media outlets. So Michelle came in and did this rigorous study to say, okay, we need to figure out connectivity in stadiums. And the traditional connectivity was the actual carriers coming in and providing what they call their distributed antenna systems. This is just a hyper-dense distributed cellular network inside the venues. And what they soon found was, if you look at the data patterns or the data usage that we use today, it's exponential. It's increasing over time. So these systems were being overburdened by simply data of connecting to Facebook, taking a picture, iCloud, all the photos going to iCloud. So these systems now are overburdened. So they now need Wi-Fi to offset that data usage on the cellular and provide that via a Wi-Fi system. So the league mandated, that all stadiums have a robust connectivity solution by the start of the 2015 season. So throughout this process, we've been working with the league to really understand what it takes to solve that unique, what we call hyper-dense connectivity challenge. And it's not just the cellular or the carriers themselves solving that problem. It's the venues themselves by introducing and complementing that system with a Wi-Fi system. So we're really excited to be working with the league on this from a league initiative. And Michelle, beyond just the connectivity element, they're looking at the game day applications and what type of conveniences can I add in the app so that users in the venue have a differentiated experience. And that could be video replays, right? That could be in-seat concession ordering. That could be some of the things we talk about with mobile ticketing, all leveraging the mobile device, because that component sits with every single individual that's in that venue today. And the last thing I'll say is on the experience is, you know, the fan experience, the live experience, isn't what you and I experienced when we were kids, which was about watching the live action on the field. There's been a transformation in what that experience is, and that's being able to share that experience with other people. It's very different, because now to share that experience, there's one way that you can share that experience. It's here. And if you don't have connectivity in those venues to share that experience, then your experience itself has been detrimented, right? So these types of concepts are starting to come in, whether it be amusement parks, whether it be live sporting events. It's all about taking what you have. You now have that digital capability to take any experience that you have and share it with friends and family, and that's really what it's all about now. So that's where we come in on the connectivity side, is to get people educated to realize how important it is to have strong connectivity in public venues.
And to kind of emphasize that point, the average person, just think about this, the impact of, say, an opportunity lost. I was talking to MK yesterday, and she went to a Florida State football game. Was it last weekend or the weekend before? There was 80,000 people in their football stadium. The average person has 240 Facebook friends. But guess what? And then do the math. If there's connectivity in that stadium, do the math and take ROI out of it for a second. Do the math just on brand awareness and brand building for Florida State University. And that opportunity lost week after week after week. And I'm not picking on Florida State, believe me, because most of them don't have it. It really is impactful. And that's only from a standpoint of collecting fans or collecting likes. Now, the next part of this, what I want to get into now is that power of sharing. Who are those people that are sharing? They're in a sports context, they're your fanatical fans. They're the people that are out there that want to be your brand ambassadors. They're the one that want to go out there and tell their friends how great you are. And it's the closest thing to the sports industry that I can see is themed entertainment. I mean, who else walks around in Mickey Mouse ears, at 55 years of age? Those types of things, right? But those are important. So I'm going to move right now. So we have the connectivity issue, right? That's one part of the puzzle. But then the next piece is, what do you do with it when you get it? And that's kind of the next chasm, if you will, of where this is going. So what do you do with it when you get it? Is it all about just collecting likes on Facebook? Is that really what it's all about? Or what are you going to do with those likes? What are you going to do with those people? How are you going to engage with them and activate them to be your brand ambassadors? And so the next phase of this, Johnny, I want you to chat a little bit about Bamboo and your software and what it does and what its capabilities are in this world.
Great. So what we really want to do is we want to make it an extremely engaging experience. And so what we've done is we've turned it into a game. So now everybody has a device. They're all carrying around a $600 equivalent computer in their pocket. So what we've done is we've turned this now, whether you're at the football game or before the football game, you're able to now play a game with the brand that you love. So we've done it with Fox and Pepsi and all that, but now you can translate this into any team. So before the game starts, this is where we can start engaging the people. So we want, for instance, the Marlins, we want to have them create more awareness about driving more seats and selling more seats during games which are not sold out. That's important to them for the ROI. How can we fill those seats or create more awareness? We have a mechanism that'll allow anybody to just go to a URL in the browser and play this game here. It's very simple. You unlock all the squares on the grid, you get something for free. It's that simple. So we determine based on the brand what those actions are. Are they checking in at a certain location at a certain time? Are they buying tickets or getting their friend to go buy a ticket? So now we can start to put the mechanics and drive the behaviors which will get the team an ROI. So now we can start playing and making it fun to engage with them rather than just say, go refer it, we'll give you something. This is all about turning it into something that's a little more measurable. So every person who's playing the game has logged in with their Facebook or Google account. So now we know every single thing about that person as they engage. And so now we can start building up the data and feeding them things that are specific and to a 14-year-old girl or a 55-year-old man. We're able to now engage with those people completely differently. And we have a relationship with that person now, and we're taking that fanatic and we're putting them on a pedestal where they belong. 15, 20 years ago, we knew we had fanatics, but we didn't know who they were. We didn't know how to engage with them. Now we can treat them like the gold that they are, and they'll even love us more. So we're playing with the behavior. This is pure psychology. It's Pavlov. Here's we ring the bell, we'll give them the Starbucks coffee here or whatever. We determine the prizes it'll go for based on the age and the demographics of the person. So where it's about building up this relationship with these fanatics to do the advertising for us. So now we can actually measure an ROI coming back out of it. Because each person that comes to, let's say there's, how many is your base of customers? You got two of you guys. What's your base? Yeah.
Too low. No, I mean, it could be anywhere from 15,000 to 30,000. You never know.
But their entire database, maybe it's 1 million or.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, if you have your entire database, how do they relate with those 1 million people? How do they communicate with them rather than just sending them out an offer to buy something else? So what we've done is we want to make it fun for them, because this is where the people's heads are at right now. The gaming industry is bigger than the movie industry. Their gaming is what we've done here to make it fun. So that's really about the engagement with a game to drive the actions that make sense for the team to actually turn an ROI. So it is about business, but it is about the engagement, and it happens off the field, before the game, after the game, and during the game, if there's Wi-Fi.
So in a themed entertainment context?
Well, in a themed entertainment, it's back to my trip to Disney World when I was a kid. What can you do now? We can start engaging with my parents and the family as we're in the station wagon. I can be playing the game before I even get there. I can already be, you can start feeding that backstory to me on the haunted house rather than wait for my cue as I wait in the line. This is a whole other sphere of influence here, because there's 365 days in the year. I'm only going to be at Disney World for 3. Mm-hmm. So what can I do to engage with that person year-round, or to at least prep them for that time that they're going to spend at Disney World?
So you're essentially incentivizing your core fans to
right, and so the game actually
continue the behavior they're already doing.
Yeah, and so if you look at this and you go, it looks like American Airlines' frequent flyer program invented 30 years ago. The part that they don't have in their frequent flyer program, nor does Victoria's Secret or Best Buy, is that you get rewarded for the actions of the people you recruit. So there's a little bit of Amway in here, so it has that aspect. We're not paying 10 levels deep and you don't get any Tupperware. But the point is that it's one level, and that's enough to affect a lot of people. So instead of the brand, these guys can push out an email and they buy TV and they'll be glad to blast stuff out. But who do you trust more? You trust your friends. They're the ones that say, look, I'm going to go to this ticket, on Thursday night, I'm going to go to this game. If you get these tickets, I'm going to get an extra freaking free parking or something. So that's what really we're looking at. We're actually playing with those fanatics, giving them rewards to drive actions that'll make money.
It's interesting because a lot of the technologies that are out there kind of in this space are what I could characterize as kind of as push technology. So it's, if you talk about iBeacon, we'll talk about that in a second, where you're able to connect to a customer's phone or what have you, and they walk into a stadium through Bluetooth if you have an iPhone, and all of a sudden, they're able to push promotions at you and that type of thing. People aren't opting in. It's just simply a push technology. How important, let's go around the panel, how important is the loyalty factor? Because I think it's a big piece when you have the most passionate customer probably in any industry, and how important it is to leverage that.
100%, right? I think if you're just getting that push technology, some of the people don't want that. They're just getting it because they walked in the stadium, right? Mm-hmm. You want to engage people. You want them signing up to Johnny's app or whatever. If you're just walking in the stadium, that might get tedious and annoying if you're just constantly getting things, mm-hmm. as opposed to, I think the clubs would even say that you want the person that's willing to sign up, not the person that's just getting it because they walked in.
Right.
Die-hard sports fans are where it's at. I mean, you have to have those, or your attendance is going to be nothing. I mean, teams like us have only been around for 20 years compared to the Cubs have been around for 110 years. Yeah. I mean, their kids, their grandkids, they have 3 generations that are fans right now. We battle, half of Miami is a Yankee fan. So, if it's not the Yankees, it's true. I mean, it's Northeast retires in South Florida. So it's tough. We were just on our first generation of fan who was 10 years old when the Marlins came. Now they're 26, 27, and they have a job and they can buy some tickets. They're the diehard Marlins fan, but we're just at our first generation.
Yeah, I mean, the power of peer reviews is enormous, and you are much more likely to trust your friend even than some of the most trusted brands that are out there. And one of the things that we did last year when we launched this Flex Pack program, it was an entirely new brand. It was entirely a new concept for us. Very few people even knew what it was, so a big part of it was education. And what we found was, our early adopters and our early purchasers, they were our diehard fans. They were folks who knew our pricing in and out. They knew that section 135 was down the left field line, right behind the visitor's bullpen. So they understood the value proposition of the product a lot earlier than the general public did. And so what we did for them was we offered a refer a friend program, and we gave them $10 and whoever they referred $10 in stored value loaded onto their race card. And it was very popular, and it was very powerful at driving excuse me, some additional traffic and bringing a new market really in to purchase the product.
Yeah, I would add one other really important element to all of this as it relates to technology is demographics. And what we'll see is the millennial generation start to adopt these principles more because they're tech savvy, because they've lived in this generation of mobile and digital, and start to look for the incentives behind the usage that they do every day. We see, particularly in the NFL, the average age of a season ticket holder is between 53 and 55 years old. So there's this generational gap of who's actually using technology to enhance their experience. And then ultimately you look at the collegiate space that is also seeing declining attendance of their student population in large sporting events, particularly in Division I football. And the reasons, again, is because they're so savvy, and the expectation over time is that they can do everything they do in their normal daily life in the venue. You know, demographics really come into play in all of these scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely. Daren, I want to go back to an additional question on the connectivity. Some different systems and some confusion around that in the marketplace, and how difficult it is for you. Like, there's DAS systems and Wi-Fi and all of that. Like, tell us maybe the difference between them and what's out there, and maybe some good and bad features.
You know, you hear wireless, and everybody says, well, wireless stinks in here, right? And the problem in the market is there is confusion about what is wireless. You know, cellular is very, very different than is Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is a ubiquitous connection that just connects to the internet, off from an internet connection, where cellular, all that data goes backhaul to the carrier, to your AT&T or to your Verizon phone system on the back end. And when it comes to venues, really where the important aspect is getting the analytics, right? And harvesting the data that's coming off from these mobile devices. And particularly venue owners have no visibility into any of the analytics around usage data patterns when it's on the cellular network. And that's why there's an advantage to using Wi-Fi, is Wi-Fi now allows venue owners the ability to do some very interesting things around looking at mobile usage patterns and location services of where users are in venue. And it's important that we distinctly measure both of those very differently, because they're complementary. You know, they're not mutually exclusive. You can't, you know, in our perspective, you've got to have both systems. You've got to have Wi-Fi, particularly for your own usage of the data, and then the cellular is normal usage and goes back to the demographics.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know, a lot of, you know, the older generation don't realize they have to go in and collect, you know, click on the SSID in their setups on their phone to actually connect to Wi-Fi, you know. They just expect their phone to work. And the general misnomer that we see oftentimes is people say, well, I've got 5 bars. You know, why can't I make a call? Or why doesn't my text go through? I have 5 bars. Coverage is very different than capacity. Coverage means you get the signal. Capacity is, do you have enough of the bandwidth to actually make the call, send the text, send your Facebook post? Very different. And the carriers will not, you know, everything that you see around how they advertise is their coverage. They've got the map of the US, you know, and they've got all their dots all over where they've got coverage. But coverage doesn't mean anything when you talk about hyperdense environments where you've got thousands, hundreds and thousands of people in one area that are all trying to do the same thing. So it's important on an educational basis to understand kind of the distinct differences there.
Now, to kind of complete the circle of what we're talking about here between the social or the software and the tech. So imagine you people are all the top, most passionate fans for Florida State football. And you go to that stadium, and by not having that Wi-Fi connectivity, they're actually preventing, think about that, they're actually preventing you from speaking on their behalf and promoting Florida State football. And you can translate that to any business, whether it's Disney, whether it's, you know, Six Flags, any type of theme park, Hall of Fame, any of it. Okay, you're actually preventing them from doing it, which is an interesting.
And I've heard owners of NFL teams say that wireless connectivity in their venues is as important as bathrooms. And when you think about it, it is. It's
You probably have quite a few that have no idea.
And then there's others that don't understand, they don't understand why they would need to have or invest in the technology. And as their aging demographic of their season ticket holders goes to the next generation, I tell you what, there's going to be an expectation that you have that connectivity in venue.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about wearable technology right now. We'll move on to that. I know in the introductory video, some of you probably saw the Google Glass. And I know Orlando, Sacramento are using that. They showed Stanford on the sideline. Where do you see that going? Do you ever see it in a game? Do you ever foresee that type of thing? Like what type of uses do you think there are for it? And as we're talking up here, you people can think in the themed entertainment businesses where you could use that in your space. So I think it has some really interesting possibilities.
Yeah, we formed a partnership with Crowd Optic, who's the company that does the Google Glass implementation. They're one of 4 developers that is certified by Google. And they're doing some very interesting things about inheriting the first-person perspective. And if you look at it with professional sports, how cool would it be if you were sitting in a stadium to have, one of the players just in the back in the locker room before the game, or, in a shoot-around in basketball, to be able to see what they're seeing on the big screen, to see them actually taking shots, because those Google Glass actually have a video element built into it. So it's videoing exactly what's happening. And we've seen that some of kind of the early pilot use cases is fans that bring Google Glass into venue being able to dial in or look into the specific vector that another fan in the venue is wearing glass and be able to swipe and inherit their first-person perspective. So you start to think about the concepts of how this could actually transform an experience. If you were in, an amusement park and you wanted to check the line on the other side of the park and simply have the ability to swipe and get a first-person perspective from an ambassador, an attendant in a certain area, what value that starts to have. So not only is it an input device where you can, in essence, be seeing something, but then it's output to someone else. So we're just at the infancy of this. I mean, we've started thinking of some crazy wild things like having it, within in a helmet in football, or having it within a catcher's mask, where as a fan, you can swipe and inherit the catcher's view during a game, and how that really starts to, engage you much more in terms of the activity on the field.
As we talked about in the storytelling section yesterday morning, it's really all about the perspective of the fan, and the experience has to be really authentic. And something like that to give you the actual perspective of the athlete, I think would be a tremendous thing, or a customer on a roller coaster, or what have you. Chaka.
I was just going to say, I'm going to jump
Sorry,
in
I didn't
and
mean to
say,
steal that one.
I, as someone who works for the players, I don't like that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that's going to slow my guy down, or I'm against that. I think kind of what you brought up about a fan seeing something pregame, I suppose something like that would add something to their experience. But yeah, as someone who represents the players, I don't really think building something into a helmet. I mean, they already have, as you saw in the video, they're already looking into stuff on uniforms, and I know I spent some time in India in the cricket league over there, and they have some quirky things they try and do over there too. But at the end of the day, for me, it takes away, if that's going to take away from the performance, or in the psyche of the player, if that's going to take away from their performance, I don't.
So let's not totally write it off. If I flip the question and go, okay, as a training tool.
Yeah, I mean, they have that now. They have sports scientists that are helping athletes,
So if I'm a quarterback and I have Google Glass, I can actually be able to see what the quarterback is seeing as we're training him through practice and training camp and that type of thing.
Of course, if that's going to enhance their
I knew I'd sell you.
Yeah, you can sell me on that. Yeah, I have no problem with that. But I think in your example of a theme park, I think it's a great idea. Who wants to wait in a line if they don't have to? If they can see across the park. But and as a fan, and I get it, I get that. I just think for the actual in-game. And I see a trend of that is going to be happening whether I want to or not, or whether the players want to or not, or you kind of go back to the demographics. When I was playing hockey, when I was growing up, No one did that. But the people today who are playing, if they're growing up with that already, is that a problem? I don't know. Maybe I'm a dinosaur and saying I don't want that to happen, but yeah, that would be my only inclination, is to say I'd hate to see an athlete think that's taking away from their performance. But like Mark brought up, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That didn't even pop in my mind for training purposes. So,
Johnny.
Google has enough information on me, and I'm okay with, I was raised, I just remember that movie where the guy's living inside that dome, and in the whole world, every moment of his life, he was Tom Hanks, and every moment of his life was videotaped. Truman Show, that's it, Jim Carrey. And that's where we're at with our new generation of kids. That's what they'll think is acceptable, and that's okay for them. I'm just not going to do that.
Larry.
Listen, going back to what he said about the athletes, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years, and these younger athletes, I'm an old man compared to these kids now. They're 21, 22, 23 years old, and they're tweeters. They're going to want this. It also depends on the player's, personality. Some guys have much bigger personalities than others. They like the attention. Someone might want to wear this thing. Hey, everyone's going to check me out. Oh, cool, I'm going to get X amount of more Twitter followers. And it really depends on the guy's personality. I mean, that's one thing I've learned in this business. Not everyone is going to be the personality of Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, when I worked with him, he was the best ever. He'd put on a clown nose and a red wig and do whatever he wanted, where certain guys, they're just not their personalities. You got to learn to read people. So going back to your player side, I think it depends on the guy.
Go.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there is this balance, right, between the experiential element, between what clubs and organizations and businesses want out of these types of things in terms of customer information, and then between this kind of Big Brother, creepy-ish, type of feeling, and that line is shifting, and it will continue to move, right? But Mark, you mentioned iBeacon a few minutes ago, and Major League Baseball has a league-wide initiative to install these devices all around all 30 MLB ballparks. And just in case you don't know what they are, there are Bluetooth beacons that connect to your mobile device, and they'll send you a push notification when you enter a certain range of them. And the league, I think rightfully so, was pretty concerned about, is this too much too soon? Are we going to be perceived as kind of Big Brother and being a little creepy here? And so they did a very light launch with it. I think they have it in all 30 clubs. You guys have it?
We were a little bit after opening day.
Yeah.
Literally when
You guys stealing my next question? You are, aren't you?
Yeah, we're transitioning.
I just wanted to be clear.
Is that okay?
We're moderating the panel ourselves. Self-moderation. Right. When you walk in, and some things are good for the fan. Hey, here you walk in, welcome to Marlins Park. Jose Fernandez today, here's his ERA versus Roy Halladay of the Phillies, here's his ERA. And I think that's where it should lie every once in a while, but it could get out of hand with too many alerts and so on and so forth. I mean, it's a real push to get people to the MLB at the ballpark app where you can order your food. And that's a big concern for us because fans stand in line too long, lines are too long, they complain. I mean, that's where you want people to get into MLB at the ballpark app so you could do certain things that'll save them time, save us time, and increase ROI. If people run from the seats, it's much better than standing in line.
I think it's really pivoting from kind of a proof of concept phase, which was last year, to this year, layering on, maybe there's some informational elements to this about destinations within the ballpark. Right. That just help educate folks and get them to get up out of their seats and move around the facility, which, that's how people experience the game, particularly baseball these days, which has a different pace than many other professional sports. So it's a really interesting technology. I think it'll be deployed more as that line, kind of continues to shift, and as younger folks continue to come to the ballpark and don't see what the issue is with it necessarily.
Right. I'm going to come back to this, and I'm not going to let you guys off the hook on the Google Glass. What about like all-star, like in-game stuff, to be clear for those of you that aren't sports fans, it would be almost impossible to put something like that on a player just because of the collective bargaining agreements and things of that nature, in-game. But what about things like exhibition games, all-star games, things like that, special events where the fans can do something like that? Or if a fan gets a chance to do batting practice for you know, the Yankees or something like that, and he does it with Google Glass. Like, those are really authentic experiences. Like, do you see some possibilities there? And I have no shares in Google, so I'm just...
Absolutely. Whenever you could take something and test it in an exhibition type of game, and then hopefully then you transition to the real game if it works and it's positive and you see it's not too much of a pain or it's not interfering with the players. I mean, you know, there's a whole bunch of stuff. But you're right. In all-star games, home run derbies, you see that a lot. Guys are carrying their own little cameras and they're taking the feeds from that. So, you know, whatever perspective from the player, that's what everyone wants to be. What does every kid want to be when they grow up? Movie star or professional athlete. So, you know, it gives you that type of perspective. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm. We also saw in here some of the new wearable RFID stuff that the athletes can wear. Now this, I can see, I would go along with Chaka, is probably a bit more invasive, and the athletes probably got some reservations, or probably will have some reservations about that, things like contract negotiations and those types of things. But for training purposes, they'd obviously be very useful, giving them all kinds of great metrics.
Yeah, the league has an initiative that they're using right now with that RFID on players. I think it's really going to become, to your point, with sports agents in the NFL Players Association, it's a point of contention. Because now, ultimately, you get the real deal numbers on players and whether they're dogging it, whether they're playing hard, because those stats will be kept over a period of time, and now you can start to see consistencies. And the league is endorsed and really taken a strong effort around fantasy football. So if those of you don't know what fantasy football is, it's the collection of stats, and you pick your players and you play against other teams.
How many have teams, fantasy football?
It's
That's a low number. I mean, it's $1 billion industry.
Billion dollar industry. And so now when you start to take the metrics of your players, you know, and pull that into their statistical behavior, you know, now we start to talk about fantasy and grabbing all that data, because it's a big data world. We've all heard that word, big data. It's about the collection of that data, but then how do you harvest that data to make meaningful actions, whether that's intelligence around player performance, or in our case, as we start to talk about stadiums, can I predict the intent of my fans based on their usage patterns of mobile and digital in venue? Those all start to come into play when you have access to that data. So I think just as a, you know, the RFID piece is a very interesting component, because both it enhances, you know, the fans' engagement in their favorite players, but then also gives you some unique insight into what's happening on the field.
Interesting. Any thoughts on that? Chaka, you hate it. I already know.
We'll talk to the sports agent. He might have a different story on this.
I hate to be the Debbie Downer of the...
But you're gonna listen. I'm gonna skip over that. I'm just gonna go. It's great for a training tool, Chaka. It really is.
Great for training. But yeah, I don't really want to have to be negotiating a contract and have the club knowing that for 3 weeks last season, my guy was in the doghouse and not trying. So
or has a heart murmur.
Well, yeah, that's true also.
Right.
So.
Chuck, I'll back you up. I mean, if you look at even just the backlash in Major League Baseball against pitchers wearing helmets that have protective layers of, or hats rather, that have protective layers of...
It's because they look like Kazoo from the
padding in them.
Flintstones.
Yeah, well, sure, part of it is that, but I mean, you know, it's a real danger. These guys are on the mound, they're getting critically injured, you know, career-ending injuries happening on the pitcher's mound, and no one wants to wear these hats that might help save them. I mean, sports historically just moves very slow, particularly on the player.
Sometimes athletes have to be protected from themselves.
Yeah, sure, it's very true.
3-4 years ago, it came into play now as a rule that the first base and third base coaches have to wear helmets out there where they never used to, because one of the coaches in the minor leagues got hit in the
Colorado,
ball in the head and he passed away right then and there. One of our star player got hit in the face with a 90-mile-per-hour fastball 3 weeks before the season ended, and it could have killed him. It could have. I mean, thank God it didn't. I mean, he had dental work, teeth knocked out, his face. It was bad.
Yeah, I mean,
so they couldn't use it
in hockey circle, they've just recently mandated, you know, eye protection. You know, and they've grandfathered that in. So, like I say, athletes sometimes have to be protected from themselves. Let's go to analytics. I know, Daren, you guys have got an interesting analytics platform, and Johnny, certainly this is your area as well. And certainly with the teams and how you're managing it. So we'll start off with Daren. I know you guys got an interesting platform, so let's start there.
So Extreme Networks is actually the official Wi-Fi analytics provider of the NFL. And in essence, what we're doing is anonymizing the data, so we don't have the personal identifiable data as specific users on devices. But what we can detect is all the mobile usage patterns and all the applications that are used by each fan that's on the Wi-Fi system. And this really was an initiative that the league took primarily to understand what is the usage pattern, what are people doing in venue. Because they had this grand scheme that they have the NFL mobile app and they invest heavily into applications for delivering specific content into the venue. They wanted to know, are people using it? Well, after a year of collecting data across a number of the different teams, they realized that people don't do anything differently than they do at home sitting on their couch when they're in the venue. And that less than 5% of those connected users were actually using their heavily invested mobile apps, their NFL mobile or their red zone or things of that nature. So what they're really trying to understand is, okay, can we start to harvest this data to understand other value-added services that we can deliver based on the social channels that they're leveraging in the venue? So for instance, we've gathered stats of over 15 clubs so far to date. 75% of Wi-Fi connected users across these stadiums are using Facebook, right? About 25% are using Twitter, 20% are using Instagram. And then there's a whole host of other apps. WhatsApp was one that came out 2 or 3 years ago, and we started seeing this data in stadiums and said, well, why is this becoming so popular? Only for them to get sold for $1 billion plus 6 months later. So really starting to understand how many fans are connecting to this, understanding and predicting how people are going to use mobile technology in the venue. Because then when we get back to the activation piece, now if I understand that a specific fan is looking for or is on, let's say, a travel site while he's in the venue, we could predict or inference that maybe he's looking at traveling to another away game or to a away game of his home team. So could we activate right there and provide him some coupon or promotional materials about a travel deal to take him to the next away game, right? So this is where we're starting to harvest the data and really to understand on the analytics side, what are people doing, and then how can we activate and engage that fan based on what their behavior is in real time. And I think we're a bit, we're in that kind of phase of evolution to get there, but these are the things that we're starting to evolve in those environments.
Chaka.
Well, in a retail environment or even a restaurant environment, there's patterns that we all have. We go to happy hour and we're always going to go out on Friday and Saturday nights, but what about Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday? Well, nobody's there at Chili's. Let's take Chili's, for instance. So how can we drive people and change a behavior to get people in there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday? Well, if we have the data on the people who've joined the club for Chili's, for instance, now we can have them go check in, and so when they're checking in on Facebook or Foursquare, and reward them for those activities. So we're now able to take the collective body of data that we have, and we can look at the behaviors that they currently are operating under, and then we can shift those behaviors and reward them for those behaviors. It's pure Pavlov. So we're literally able to go now shape and push people where we're going to make more margin or have more availability, or if we're in a baseball game and we have seats available. All these things apply because there's a fixed cost to run that game. If that seat's not sold, that's lost. And they've got season ticket holders who paid one price for it. So we can never sell below that $1 amount for that season ticket holder, or we're screwing with it.
There is always StubHub.
Sometimes.
But it's dangerous. We don't want to have it out there that we're selling below, and we certainly don't like StubHub. So what we're doing now and able to do is change these behaviors, because as soon as we get them in that ballpark, they're going to have to pay for parking, they're going to have food, and there's going to be money there. So how do we get more people in there for that fixed cost? We got to run that game. That's all incremental revenue. So if we can change the behaviors, everybody wins. Well, I can now take my friends out, and it'll be more affordable because someone got in for free on the Monday night. The team gets to fill the seat. They've moved the pattern of people all taking the Friday and Saturday games up, and we've pushed that over here. The club can now make more money, provide more fun experiences. So it's really about optimizing the experience and giving people who may not have had a chance to ever go to that baseball or football game a chance to get in there because they were able to go during a low time. So that makes sense for everybody. And what we're playing with is the incremental. So you're looking at, they have their base of their audience that attends games. Done. They have their fanatics. It's how do we reach the people who never go or go once every 4 years and get them to go once every 2. If you just shift that tiny percentage, you just almost doubled the revenue for that night.
He's exactly right. I mean, Mondays, we have Military Monday. They get to come in free. Tuesday, through the Miami Herald, you get a half-price ticket to outfield. Wednesday, kids eat free. So we're doing all those type of things to get people into the ballpark on our lower attendance days. On Saturday nights, we started a concept years ago, and they do too. We do post-game concerts. You talked about the experience. So, I mean, I'm blowing out. I mean, I've done from P. Diddy to Flo Rida to, I mean, monster concerts. And then even recently, in the last 4 years, they put into the contracts that they have to do a mandatory at least 3 tweets within 3 weeks. You know, once a week they have to do it. When Diddy tweeted out, "Hey, I'm playing the Marlins game," we saw our numbers go instantly. As soon as he tweeted, within the next hour, we had sold 4,000 tickets. And that's the power of why we do it. One, it's for entertainment, and people who would never go to a Marlins game are just Diddy fans. Now they get to come and see all the great stuff that I put on that video and how fun a Marlins game is. I can't control if we win or lose. I can control if you have a great time. Just what the theme parks. I mean, that's why you put a new ride in every year. That's why you do it. So we do concerts. We're doing kids run the bases. I mean, you name it. We try to get people in.
Bill.
Yeah, the the analytics side of all of this is it's a real challenge, and the kind of the holy grail that everyone points to, and I think it has a tendency to be a bit oversimplified, is you know everything about your customers. This is their favorite player. They drink coffee on Tuesday mornings, and then you're able to kind of customize your marketing message and customize even creative to them and send it to them in real time. And that's certainly the goal, but we're a long way from actually being there. And aside from the technology deployment that you need to undertake in order to actually collect all this information on your customers, you then need to have a system in place to use this data and understand it and make it actionable. And the problem is not at all, for us at least, volume of data. People talk about big data. It's really complex data. It's
really an overused term.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a buzzword, and there are businesses and companies that have millions of times the volume of data that we have, but our data is complex. We have a ticketing vendor, we have a separate concessionaire and point of sale system, we have someone else running our parking lots. There's all different types of silos of data that we have, not to mention the league and all the information that they collect on folks' online activity. So
it's one thing to actually have the data, and it's quite another to actually use it effectively
Exactly.
and know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's go to building of apps. Actually, quick question. The clock up here doesn't seem to be working. I'm just wondering how much time. 14 minutes and 8 seconds I got from a mysterious voice behind me.
6, 5, 4, 3.
It is a theme park or a theme entertainment industry. Obviously, it might have been a ghost. So a lot of teams are, well, last question here, and then we'll open it up for some questions to the audience. A lot of organizations are building their own apps. And, Business School 101 is, stick to your core competencies. And they're spending an awful lot of money doing it. And I know the 49ers are doing it right now, the Redskins have done it, almost everybody is trying to do it. Money well spent or money not when you see some of the products that are already to market and people that is their specialty? Daren.
That's a very good question. I mean, I think what makes best business sense is to leverage the social channels that are already being used.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of wasted investment in terms of app development where you just don't have the number of users that you would expect to get the return on. So, we've worked with a number of the digital officers of a number of clubs throughout the NFL, and what they said is that's what they're trying to get insight into. Tell me where my fans are, and I'll go invest in the apps that they're using or the channels that they're using to try to get more activation or to try to leverage that fan and give them a better experience. So, I'm on the fence because I do think that there's really some interesting development that's happening, specifically around video. I think video is a big element for the personalization aspect of engaging the fan. That's what they want. They want unique insight and unique video. But to your point, I think it's a delicate balance in terms of really understanding where your fans are, and if you have that knowledge, leverage it, and and leverage, the capability of what you have in-house, but then extending that through partnership.
Chaka. I think too, building on what you're saying, if you don't know where those fans are, then to Mark's point, is that a waste of money, right? Are you investing in something that like you need that knowledge before you get there, right? So it's the horse before the cart sort of mentality, right? How do you get to that point? I mean, I don't know the answer to that.
There's kind of a rush right now, like with all of this coming, like the connectivity isn't even completed yet, and then there's all these applications coming online, and nobody really knows what to do. So it's a pretty confused market space, which is why I asked the question.
Yeah.
So should you leave it to the experts? And I tend to think yes, but
yeah, I would say too. I mean, I think teams like the 49ers you brought up, like they have so many other. I mean, I know that's an important piece, but if you don't have the answers to invest your time and money in that, when there are other people, outside people, one sitting beside me, who, for me, just commonsensical, I think you leave it. It is. I'd side on the side that it's a little bit of a waste of your time and resources, but it's hard and confusing without those answers.
Right. Johnny, I know what your answer is going to be.
Sub it to me. Don't dare take on hiring a team and trying to build it.
Can you brand it? Like if somebody comes to you and says,
totally out of the box, white label, I have a contract in my pocket. Let's go. No, it really comes down to, we have this brand here that's Nestle Pure Life Water, and we're going to move 3.7 billion bottles of water this year. And they're using our software. And it's not even an app because no one will download an app on a water brand. If you don't have room on your phone, it is right now, you have to delete something else to put the app on. So no one's going to do that. It just, our whole program works in the browser, works on any browser. You can pull out a 10-year-old Nokia, our program will work. So it's really about getting to where the customer is and living in their world and from their perspective and their language, and creating something that's really fun and entertaining for them. If we can't entertain them with water, which is the hardest challenge ever, and it works. And that's how we're able to do it. I mean, you guys have theme parks and rides and smoke and lights. We have water. There's not even there's no carbonation in it. It doesn't come from France. It's tap water. And we're able to run a program successfully and sign thousands of people up who are enjoying it every single day. They're referring their people. We have all the data on them, all the usage patterns. Nestle never had any data on anybody who ever bought their water, ever. They never knew who bought anything.
And why would they?
Because you're buying at a grocery store. The grocery store barely knows who you are. So it really is providing a whole other level that we never had access to before. And it can be extremely daunting and confusing if we just take the data and dump it in your lap. But if we give you a nice little report every Thursday at 9 o'clock, you can decipher it, I promise.
Shameless self-promotion. Larry.
MLB is a little different than the NFL. We have what's called BaAM, Baseball Advanced Media, run at the MLB office. So they control everything digital. They control every website. If you go to the Marlins site and then go over to the Rays site, everything's exactly the same but the colors and the players, but the layouts, everything is the same. The MLB at the ballpark app, they put that together. And again, it's changed from the Rays. So you can come, go to section 15 for me, and then you click on food service. For him, it might be section 18. But they run it all. It's Big Brother for us. And it's good and bad. You can't control your content sometimes. You give them things to put up there, but would you rather have it up right away with your people doing it? Sure, sometimes. But it's the way that they cut the teams a big check. They're selling the advertisings. They're doing all that. We don't have to sell that. We don't have to do it. They just cut us a check no matter what. Guaranteed.
On the team side, are you guys looking at building? Do you have your own in-stadium app or anything like that?
No, we don't.
Yeah, we're not either. It's really we're kind of doubling down on the at the ballpark app. And he's right. BaAM is kind of a blessing and a curse. The great thing about them is they have a whole R&D division, and they're able to put these types of things together for all the clubs, which is great. And the app world, there's a bit of research out there talking about it's kind of a winner takes all proposition out there now. There's so many apps out there, but people aren't using more apps. They're using the same number of them. So to the extent we can latch on to a successful brand like MLB and provide content through that, that's the way we'll go.
Great stuff. Let's open it up to a few questions. And I'm going to request today that if you get the microphone, stand and tell us who you are, and we'll go from there.
Hi, Robbie Brown. With baseball games going 3 hours, my son can sit through maybe 2. Are there ways for technology to address how to speed up games or to make, with instant replay and, Joe Madden changing pitchers 3 times in an inning to address, speeding up the game?
True story. Wow. True story before we answer that. Last week I did a panel for the Dodgers, and we had like their CFO, the Guggenheim Group is there, and some pretty big wheels. And as I'm putting the questions together, I had 2 days to do it. And I'm teaching the sports technology class right now online, and I threw it out to my class on the afternoon before, and I said, hey, I've got this great panel I'm doing tomorrow night. Like, give me a question you guys would want to ask. And that's the exact question they asked. Of all the questions in the world was, how can we speed up baseball?
You've clearly seen Jeremy Hellickson throw 9 innings of baseball for us, yeah. Some pitchers are better than others. Some teams are better than others at pace of the game. There is a commission that's just been formed by the league this offseason to look specifically at this issue. I think the new commissioner of baseball really understands that pace of the game is a big issue for particularly the next generation of fans. And there are things as simple as enforcing rules that are on the books, like when the pitcher's on the rubber and the batter's in the box, throw the ball.
12 seconds in between pitches, but I mean, I've literally gone crazy myself where I take out my phone and go to my timer, and I'm seeing 35 seconds between pitches. It drives me crazy. I'm like, get on the mound, just throw the ball.
And there are things as radical as actually putting a clock out there. Yeah. And I'm not sure where they'll end up. I don't think we'll have a clock, would be my guess.
Definitely not.
But,
But to your point of instant replay, I mean, I roll up every instant replay. Anything positive for us, I'm rolling it in, because where you're sitting, I'm sitting in front of 50 monitors. Everything looks great to me, but you're sitting in the corner. You might not see the single. It doesn't really matter. I'm rolling it in. It's always something for us to help the fans. In between that guy stepping off the mound and waiting. Oh, now I'll pitch.
Anybody else?
Well, I mean, I think I will say this. It won't speed up the game, but I think all sort of what we've been discussing this whole panel, it's trying to make that 3 hour, 2.5, 3 hours more enjoyable. So now your son has something to do once he gets bored of watching the pitcher take 30 seconds between pitches.
Excellent point.
I mean, it's pretty hard to speed up
I will tell you, in Los Angeles, there's no getting them there before the 3rd inning.
Right.
yeah.
Anything to add, Daren?
No, I think that's,
No? Good. Next.
Lots of questions.
Way at the back.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I recently graduated from the University of Michigan, which, if you know anything about college football, you've noticed that.
Did you guys fire your coach today?
No.
If only. Anyway, speaking about the game day experience, you guys have been talking about a lot how to make it more like being at home and how to make it as convenient as home is. One of you mentioned, though, like getting a big concert after the game. What do you think we can do technology-wise to make the game day experience, being in the stadium, other than just checking in at places? Because I know plenty of people who walk around outside the stadium and check in and then get their points for the day.
I'm going to tackle that one first, if you guys don't mind. As I said at the beginning, I think there's a lot of parallels and opportunities for themed entertainment industry and the sports industry to collaborate on more things. And I think this is one of them. There's lots of opportunity, pre-game, mid-game, post-game, that type of thing to actually engage with the fans. You saw in the original video that MK put together, it showed a brief clip of, I think it was the Montreal Canadiens in the ice, and it was just a simple 3D motion projection that actually made the ice move and all of that. And that may not be extraordinary to you people and some of the amazing things that you guys do, but in hockey circles, that's a really amazing thing, and that's a new advancement. And I know we looked last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers, if you get a chance to look it up, theirs is like super advanced. It's absolutely amazing what they do on a basketball court, and they use the playing surfaces in hockey and basketball, essentially as a video screen to create all these really neat experiences. And I think that's a really good start. And there's lots more certainly that can be done to engage the fans before, during, and after. Not just on the event itself. Guys?
I would say that there needs to be a balance there too in terms of the actual fan. So how much does the fan want in terms of technology, because I think there's plenty of technology to engage that fan. It's just, I think there's got to be a delicate balance as an opt-in. So if the fan wants a more engaging experience, opt-in, that gives us a little more insight into exactly what types of things you do and what type of things we can predict to provide you. So I think the opt-in piece is really, really important in this whole conversation.
Video and animation-wise, I mean, you have to put top quality graphics out there. If you saw in my video, I had like 5 boards at one time yelling "scream," and it's the guy's mouth, and you're going in, and it's like Pablo's dog. We put that up, and it's high quality. They scream. I mean, you put it at the right time. You're about to strike a guy out. Clap your hands. You play the sound effect. I mean, that's the technology you're using to get the fans involved. So your son is now clap, clap, clap instead of just waiting for the pitch. Yeah. You're engaging him.
So use that to make the guy throw the ball sooner.
There you go.
Hurry up, faster. Tough crowd.
Excellent point. You guys want to sign him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are we done?
Yeah.
I've just gotten the cane. Anyway, I really enjoyed this discussion, and we're certainly happy to discuss any of this and more with you throughout the day. Really like to thank the panel members for coming. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.